and welcome to A Good Walk Spoiled Adventures in Golf with your host, Scott Ponywaz, also known as Pony Golf. A Good Walk Spoiled is part of the Millions.co and Golfer Gang networks. Thank you for tuning in. Let's swing into this week's episode.
Hello, and we're excited to have Matt Minder from the Amateur Players Tour today on A Good Walk Spoiled, Adventures in Golf. Matt Minder and I have crossed paths at a number of golf courses, East Coast, West Coast, somewhere in the middle, quite a bit. He is one of the founders of the Amateur Players Tour, as well as an all-around great golfer, so we're going to get into his background a little bit. Matt, welcome, and we're excited to have you on.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to see you again, and it's good to be on the show.
Well, yeah, I know we're going to get into the Amateur Players Tour, which I know many of my listeners and followers are also playing on, so you're probably not a stranger to them as far as the amateur player side of things, but many people might not know much about your personal background. So, do you want to give us the sort of snapshot life of Matt Minder and where you were before? Because it's pretty awesome. You actually played a little bit of college golf, pro golf, and probably some other stuff before that I don't even know
about. Yeah, no, definitely. So, grew up in Central Illinois and went to a small school, and so no golf team in high school. So I played every sport imaginable. I was just a junkie for competition. So soccer, baseball, basketball, golf in the summer, traveled around and, went to college, Illinois Wesleyan, played for a couple of years there. And then kind of just had an epiphany to get out of Illinois. So I went down to a golf academy in Myrtle Beach for a year, and then just started and just had a love of playing and just wanted to continue to get better. And so worked my way up through the circuit, a lot of, the Chicago District Golf Association events, USGA events, things like that in the amateur side of things, and had a couple of wins and at the statewide level and decided to, keep my amateur status, but I wanted to go and play with the big boys down in Florida. And spent 3 months on a mini tour, had the time of my life, but found out what really, really good golfers look like. And so it's certainly a different level. There's a lot of fun stories there, but had a great time. Love to compete. Love the camaraderie of golf tours and just loved every minute of the experience. You meet great people. You learn a lot about yourself playing competitive golf, and just something I've always fell in love with, and now get the opportunity to organize the Amateur Players Tour across the country. And it's been awesome.
Yeah. So what's one of those highlights from the mini tour days? Most memorable? Maybe not even the best, but
Well, the most memorable is the day I decided to work for a living. So people all the time come to APT and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to go pro." And I'm just like, "Good luck." So before I went down to the mini tour, I had a deal with myself. I had to, I was a member at Panther Creek Country Club in Springfield that hosts a Corn Ferry event. And for the back tees, I had to break par 30 days in a row before I was going to go even try. And so I finally got that done in October, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play December, January, February. So moved down with one of my friends in Bradenton, Florida, and started playing mini tour events. And we were playing at Winter Haven Country Club in Lakeland, which is a great little private venue. They call it like an Augusta of Florida kind of thing. And it's one of those, the greens are super fast. They're all quadranted, and they all have huge fall offs. And it's like 7,500 yards from the back tees. And went out and played. Actually got stuck in traffic, because if you've ever been to Florida in the winter, you know that I-4 can turn into a parking lot really fast. And so I literally get there for this event. It's just a one-day mini tour stop on the West Florida tour. And I get there in time to hit 2 8-irons, 2 drivers, 2 putts, and walk to the first tee, which is extremely disconcerting. Because you can't make bogeys if you're playing on a mini tour. If you start making bogeys, you've wasted all your money. It's just done. And And of course, like first hole, there's this huge pond on the right, and my miss is always to the right, so that's never comforting. Get through the first hole, make par. It's blowing like 35 miles an hour that day. It's just brutally hard, and ended up making 6 birdies, shooting 1 over 73, and I'm like, that's got to be good because conditions were just insanely difficult. Like I hit driver on a par 3 from like 210. You know what I mean? Like it was brutal. And so we get in, I'm like 2/3 of the way through the tee times, right? So all the amateurs are in. The low amateur round was like 80. And so I was 7 shots better than that. I'm feeling really good. I'm tied for second. There was 172, me at 73 and another guy at 73. So I'm like, I'm sitting around, I'm not going to be in a playoff, but I'm like, I'm going to watch and see what these pros come in. Because there's some Corn Ferry guys. Like Bud Cauley played in it that winter before he went out and, won on the PGA Tour. Like there's some players. I'm like, I just wonder what they do. Because I'm feeling pretty good about myself, right? So we get all the way to the last group of the day comes in. And I'm now tied for third. There's one other 72. So I'm 1 shot off the best round of the day. I'm really pumped. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this for a living, right? This is going to be a big stepping stone. And then the last group comes in, and they shoot 67, 65, and 62, which was Carlos Ortiz. 60 freaking 2. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I went from I'm 1 shot off these guys, I can compete, to I just got beat by 11 and played my best. So that was the point where I was like, we'll play a few more tournaments and let's go back to Illinois and get a job.
So what do you think is like the biggest differentiator when you actually like play with guys at that level?
I think what I found interesting, I thought my ball striking was going to be kind of the differentiator. I was always a good putter. I thought I would notice a big difference in ball striking with those guys. They don't hit it that much farther than you see on the amateur circuit. Like I didn't think there was that much of a difference. I'm obviously like Bryson hits it whatever, right? And Rory, but there's going to be those guys. I thought it would be iron accuracy. It's really not. Like they miss greens, they make mistakes. Like everything on a mini tour, every pin is tucked. Like every single one. Like you play an amateur event and it's like 6 hard, 6 medium, 6 easy. That's not that way in a mini tour. Mini tour, you have to pick your spots, and there's danger every time you fire a pin. If you don't fire a pin, 2 putting is going to be a challenge because it's going to be over a ridge, down a hill. Like it's constantly going to take your attention. But the thing that differentiates those guys is 100 yards in air. Like they go after every pin and short side themselves all day and then get up and down out of the trash can. It is impressive to watch. Like their short games are so good. It's unbelievable to watch them play golf. It's so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, even when you play with people that are like a few strokes better than you or whatever, like it's incredible to see the difference of some of that. But like, I just can't imagine if you're like a scratch golfer and then somebody's going out and shooting 10 under on the same course. And you're like, I thought I was good, but I feel like I suck compared to this guy.
It certainly can affect your mentality. Like I don't want anybody to think I was good enough because I wasn't. Like I'm not saying that. Like I was good at the state level as an AM, and like you those guys that go, like if you're not beating everyone at your club regularly by a lot, like it's a big step. It's amazing to see how good those guys actually are and how hard they work and how dedicated they are to their craft. I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Well, I guess turning the corner from the mini tours and maybe a little more relatable to more of the people that are listening. Amateur Players Tour. So you and Jody Barrett took a big leap of faith a couple of years ago, and I actually can't remember if it was before or after the COVID shutdown. But yeah, tell me a little bit about APT and what inspired it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we actually planned the national expansion during COVID. We operated just in St. Louis for 2 years before, but Jody and I became great friends. We actually captained a Ryder Cup on for a different organization against each other. We had a whole St. Louis Nashville thing. Jody was the captain for Nashville. I was the captain for St. Louis. So we'd meet at Tunica National every year. and duke it out in a Ryder Cup. And through that, we became just really good friends. And when I decided to start the APT, it started with just something for my dad and I to do in St. Louis and run tournaments. And we just were blessed to be able to be a part of a community and lead a community that we just fell in love with. We love our guys in St. Louis and the relationships we've built. When COVID happened, Jody called me and said, "Hey, I think there's opportunity to, expand this to a national level. What do you think?" And at the time I was running a digital marketing company for small businesses in Illinois. And so every business shut down. And so I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs going, now's the time, because there's nothing else to do right now. And so we started dreaming up and envisioning what it could be. And it really came down to, and Jody has a similar, playing background. He played, college golf and played a lot of state stuff. And really what it came down to is we recognized a difference in tournament golf between participating in an elite event, right? An elite amateur event, and just, participating in a lot of other events. And that's not to, to bash any event, but there's certainly a difference of when I stepped up onto the tee in a mini tour event or in a state am or a state open, just how you were treated, the nerves that you would get, getting your name announced on the first tee, just the professionalism of it. And we just wanted to bring that opportunity to the everyday golfer, right? Because, a very small percentage of people are eligible to play in those elite events. But so many people love golf and they love to compete and they love community. And we really we wanted to create, the camaraderie and the community that I experienced playing, the mini tours for a while, or even traveling around the state am circuit, and create that for the everyday golfer that's, always looking to meet new people and find a place to compete and do it at some great golf courses.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, in Amateur Players Tour, I've mentioned you guys on previous episodes and things like that, which I'm sure you've listened to all of my episodes and, come through them all. But Amateur Players Tour is pretty incredible. I started playing on the New York tour when I was still living out on the East Coast, and coming out of COVID, working remote and sort of having quite a bit of freedom to travel at the time, but also being sort of mid-30s, late 30s. As many of us know, it's hard to get four guys, much less like, a group of people to go schedule, have the same weekend available to go play some top-notch courses, or even have the availability at the course to even get on. And so that's how I kind of started getting on and traveling around and getting exposed to all these courses I wouldn't have even found out about, like Sand Hollow and Copper Rock down in southern Utah, and like that whole St. George area, which is just now starting to get on the map. And but really going to your events and, like you said, having your name called out, and it's, Scott Ponywas on the first tee, and, Jody's big booming voice, and, introducing you, and, the tee gifts and all the other stuff that you're getting, some of the other tours that I've also played on, you're definitely not getting, worthwhile stuff. It's like, here's like some cheapo divot repair tool, and, we've got great tee gifts for you. But, you guys have definitely started to put on top-notch events, but you also are getting onto some great courses. Yeah, I know as we kind of head into the U.S. Open here this year, one of like the original highlights, and it might even still be my amateur golf highlight, Pinehurst, like your first national championship that you guys hosted, and you somehow pull the strings to get everybody onto Pinehurst and make the final round with people basically recreating the Payne Stewart thing. So how does this stuff happen? Like, how do you guys pull off a Pinehurst in year one?
Yeah. Gosh, I wish Jody was on here to talk about it, because, we always joke about it, because when we booked the contract with Pinehurst for 300 and some players, we had 180 members in St. Louis in a dream. And so, but we were like, if we're going to do this, we need to go all out in the first year. And so we called Pinehurst, said, here's what we're thinking. And they were great. They were fantastic to work with. And Pinehurst number 2 is just really special. One of the things that we kind of brought from the Am Tour space that's different is the kind of the cut in the national championship, which is fun. And so, there's kind of two goals, right? The first goal is to make it to the final round. And then, we try to put the final round on a premium golf course, which Pinehurst No. 2 is just such a special place. All the leaders walking up 18 on that last day. We're announcing groups up to the green, which is kind of funny. Obviously, Pinehurst has 9 courses. We were only utilizing 4 back then. So there's 5 golf courses of resort guests. And it was kind of funny as everybody's gathering around back on the patio back there to watch. Like half of them had no idea who we were, but we're announcing people up and like, this is cool. And, watching like the nerves of those first champions, trying to go through, and it was certainly interesting. Like I felt bad for a few that weren't used to it. But, I mean, hands are shaking over the 4-footers, and but it creates a memory, right? It's a cool experience, and 4 years later, we're still talking about how cool that experience was at Pinehurst, and so we were just very blessed to be able to host there, and it's going to be fun to watch it in the Open this week for sure.
Well, and that's the slogan, where amateurs play like pros. And that's one of the cool things about golf is like you can play the same courses to the same pin locations using the same clubs and, at least for now, the same golf balls.
Right.
That's a whole other debate.
That's a whole
discussion.
episode right there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share my opinion on that.
But you guys have had the ability to get people on somewhere like Pinehurst No. 2, and like I'm not gonna forget some of those greens where I probably 4-putted with a Texas wedge from right off the green, and ended up shooting terribly on some of those holes. I mean, I think I shot a 96, and I was like 80-82 the first 2 days or something, and then 96 on number 2, which just brutal.
It happens. So, well, I mean, I guess the question I want to ask for you, and if I'm going off script, I apologize, but how do you think the APT's role has shaped for you? Because obviously you've improved drastically, over the last 4 years since we started meeting. You've moved up our ranks very consistently, which to me is what makes me excited about running these things. And that's one of the big goals is we want to help people achieve their golf goals. And I just wanted, from your perspective, what did tournament golf do to help you in that journey?
It's funny. When I started finding you guys and other tours out there, even before you started, it was one of those things I didn't even realize that, like, as an adult amateur, these things existed. I remember meeting a guy on a flight into Austin when I was still living there, and it was like, I don't know, 2012, 2013. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going down to Austin to play in this golf event. And I was like, you must be damn good if you're traveling to go play in an amateur golf event. And you're like, right. I don't know. He was probably like 35, 40 at the time. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then I read Paper Tiger, Tom Coyne, and, obviously a little more extreme of him going after. And he was about 30 years old, and he quit his job and was like, I'm going to see what I can do with myself. Sort of like you, like, I'm going to shoot 30 rounds in a month that are all under par. And then I'm going to go try the mini tours and see what I'm made of. And, it's a struggle and it's a grind. But then I started kind of looking into this, and there's, one other tour out there that I think you know which one I'm talking about. And I played that and ended up in Hilton Head. And then I discovered you guys were kind of expanding with real courses and, a lot of like Whistling Straits and TPC San Antonio and like these courses that you see pros playing on. And, it kind of became a little bit of a drug, where you go, you play, and you're like, I just didn't have a great day. Or you're at this like multi-day event and you're like, okay, I'm playing an OK course like TPC. You're playing Canyon, and then it's Oak. I don't think I have those backwards. And it's like, play Canyon, and you're like, okay, I had a great day. And then you go on Oak, and you're like, whoa, like the pros, this course is actually like 2-3 weeks out from the PGA Tour event. And you go, these greens are slick, like the fairways are in pristine condition, but you're like, what they play versus what I play on a daily basis is totally different. And
Right.
then you kind of get this thing going in your head where you're like, if I only work on this or if I work on that. And so I started working with a golf coach remote on Skillist, and actually it was in person first, and then he moved away from the East Coast. But, then you just sort of start competing against yourself too. And you're like, how can I get better? And then you also realize the pressure of you haven't ever won a tournament. And then all of a sudden you're kind of coming down the backstretch, and it's a 2 or 3 day event, and you just crumble, and you go, the pressure that you've never felt, even, the money games at the club or whatever. And then you're on the APT and you actually are in contention. It's a few $100 that you're winning. It's not life-changing
Right.
money or anything, but it's more oh, I can actually win this thing. And then the first couple times you kind of crumble, but you learn from those. And then I started getting into the mental side and game-changing stuff there, which made things leaps and bounds. And instead of going for pins and just going for middle of the green and understanding misses and all that kind of stuff, those things all build in tournament play. And you just it's
Right.
it puts pressure on you to improve. So
Yeah, it's
now you're
definitely
interviewing me, but
no, absolutely. Sorry, but no, I mean tournament play though. That's what's great about tournament play. You learn so much about who you are as a competitor. You have to kind of face you can't hide in tournament play, right? You go out and play, practice rounds. There's no pressure. If you rip one out of bounds off the tee, you can hit another one if you really want to. Nobody cares, right? And so it's different when that option's taken away from you, or you actually have to make a 3-footer to stay in contention. It just, you learn so much about it. But the thing, and I'm sure you feel the same way. The thing that I love about it is the camaraderie and the community that you build. It's fun. My favorite thing in APT events, we have a major this weekend in St. Louis, which is my home, but we've got people coming in from all over the country, and there's a group of guys that converge on these majors and hang out. And you've got guys from New York hanging out with guys from California, which is sometimes just funny to listen to the conversations because the culture is so different across the country. But they're friends, and it's all because of APT, right? And so and golf ultimately, which is it's just fun to be a part of.
No, 100%. And I mean, there's plenty of guys that crisscrossed from your tour and in St. Louis, and some of the guys from that first event that I played in Utah, and when I've been down in Arizona and stuff like that. So it's, and still stay in touch and occasionally run into each other, even outside of the tour.
Well, I'm pretty sure a few of my members in St. Louis are mad that you're living out west, and they're looking for you to get back. So I guarantee if I tell them that I hung out with you today, they're going to be like, I'm going to get just a litany of questions because we all miss you.
Yeah. Well, and, Ambrier, they keep telling me that I should be at Ambrier. So it slipped in my mind as far as scheduling. I just got back from Australia, so it was a little chaotic
Nice.
this week. But Ambrier next year, I'll sign up. I'll get there.
There we go. Yeah. It's a good spot.
So speaking of majors coming up that you guys have, what is on the docket? What are some of the highlights for the 2024 season? And I know the Nationals, which you and I were talking about before this, I might find my way out there. So what's coming up?
So, I mean, just the start of the season, we just got back from Streamsong. We did a 54-hole event Memorial Day weekend at Streamsong, which I can't talk about majors and not talk about how immaculate that place is. I don't know if you've been able to go yet, but red, black, and blue, being a golf architecture junkie, there's 2 places you can get a Hance, a Doak, and a Core Crenshaw in the same place, the other being Bandon Dunes, all on the same property. And just 3 phenomenal golf courses in perfect weather. So that was a fun event, first-class accommodations. We did Kierland out in Phoenix, which is a little bit less known, but a great facility, hosted the PGA Club Championship this year. One of my personal favorites, I'm pretty sure you've played it, but Omni Bedford Springs in Pennsylvania. That place is so good. Just got rated the number 1 public in Pennsylvania. It's so good. And so we did a a 36 hole there. But coming up, obviously, the Ambrier this weekend, which we've dubbed the birthplace of the APT because it was in Pro's office that I decided to do it. I'd had enough with some of the other organizations and just thought we could do it different. We'll just say it that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I just thought there was a better way, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that later when we talk about handicaps and all that good stuff that always comes up when we talk about amateur golf, right? And then next weekend we're at Sequoia National, which is up the mountain in North Carolina, a really cool spot. One of those you've got to go to. It's crazy elevation changes. You might hit a 3-iron 320 yards up there. Just because of the hills and the fairways. And so you have to think your way around that golf course. So it's a lot of fun to play. And then we're July 4th weekend, we're Big Cedar Lodge. So Ozarks National on Saturday, Paynes Valley on Sunday. We'll raise a bunch of money for Folds of Honor on Sunday at the 19th hole, which is going to be a lot of fun. Then a new one for us, we're going to French Lick at the end of July. Yes. So we're getting the Die Club at French Lick that's hosting the Korn Ferry Tour Finals this year. So that's going to be really fun. Playing the Ross and the Die. Then our final major before Nationals is at Bears Best in Atlanta, which will be fun. A little barn burner in August. Some of Jack Nicklaus's favorite template holes. So that's a fun golf course to play. A couple of the hardest par threes you'll ever play, Scott. So there's a couple really good replicas. You stand on the tee and you're like, is there a green down there where I can hit it? Or am I just like trying to get it in a greenside bunker so it doesn't go in a lake? So there's a couple good ones there. But and then our North American Championship, we're excited to return to Myrtle Beach this year. Got our final round courses at True Blue and Caledonia, which are both top 100, just beautiful, beautiful golf facilities and just a great event planned for both our North American Championship and our Senior North American Championship the next week. So
incredible. Yeah. And Myrtle, I've never played there, which is crazy. I've played Hilton Head and around there and all this other stuff, but yeah, so might need to check it off my list.
Myrtle. I feel like that's like a requirement to run a golf podcast.
Yeah. Well, and Stream Song 2 now I feel like is on there. So many. There's so many courses and so little time, and I just need more sponsors, I think. So.
I totally understand that. But yeah, Myrtle's fun. Myrtle's got I think it's 85 golf courses now, but they're all great. Our tournament's based around Legends Resort, which is three courses on property, all very highly rated. I was at a golf club. I was actually a member out at Legends, so I've played it hundreds of times. But just great, fun golf courses. There's not a lot of boring holes in Myrtle Beach. You get to some golf courses and you're like, yeah, this is just a par 4, right? Myrtle Beach doesn't have a lot of that. You're constantly going in and around hazards, bunkers, great green complexes. It's just a lot of fun. And it's going to be a great championship. But I will tell you, Stream Song needs to be on your list.
Well, it's already been added, but so the other thing too with like Myrtle and some of these other places is I know a lot of the guys or ladies, there are a lot of husband and wife or couples that travel to these, but also a lot of people bring families along, and like Myrtle Beach, even though I haven't been, but I've heard it's like a great family spot. So like with you guys, do you sometimes take that into planning? Like, is this family oriented, or how do you guys think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Myrtle's been a great host for us. We like to move the North American Championship around. So year 1 was in Pinehurst. Year 2 was in Nashville, Tennessee, which was fun. Year 3 was in Myrtle. We're returning to Myrtle this year, which has freaked everybody out. They're like, you going to be in Myrtle every year? No, we're not. Don't worry. We've already got 25 figured out. Not ready to announce it yet, but it's really important to be family friendly. Like if anybody had a knock on Pinehurst, which I'm just like, really? It was that it's a golf resort, right? And so if you brought your family, there's not a lot to do in Pinehurst, North Carolina, if it's not golf oriented. And so, Nashville had a lot of things to do. There's a lot of fun, down at Broadway, and there's just all kinds of history and especially music history in Nashville. Myrtle Beach is a great family environment. You've got something for everybody. So if you're a single bachelor run around Myrtle Beach, there's plenty to do. But if you bring your family, there's also plenty to do. It's just got a really good mix of everything. And that's become important to us when we look at our championship. We try to make our championship one of our most affordable events so more people can come to it. We limit our field to 600. So we run 5 golf courses, 120 a day on each golf course, which is fun. But yeah, Myrtle's great from a family spot. There's lots of different areas to do. I mean, the Grand Strand in Myrtle Beach spans, 60 miles. You have 60 miles of coast to choose from. It's more chilled out on the south end. It's more ritzy on the north end. In the middle, you've got all the family stuff going on. And so there's a little bit for everybody, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, and one of the things too with APT that I've noticed is like pricing. It tends to be pretty ridiculously fair because with these events, you still have to pay for the rounds of golf. You still have obviously the management fees, and there's also prize purses, which you guys have, I think, the best in amateur golf. I assume that's still the case across the tour, which now you guys are up, just so people know, I think it's 43 chapters across the country.
43 chapters across the country. One in Canada, growing. So
yes, Toronto. I even have played in their inaugural event.
You played at Cobble Beach, right?
Yeah.
How is that place?
Cobble Beach was awesome. They call it the Pebble Beach of Canada. And beautiful. It's along a huge lake, which I can't remember the actual name of the lake, but a couple hours north of Toronto. Just a beautiful, beautiful place and resort and clubhouse. And I actually ended up winning that tournament.
Nice.
So
you're the first person in APT history to win in both the U.S. and Canada.
Yes, I guess I am. So legendary. But yeah, no, that was a great course. And I was still living in New York, so it was an easy trip up there. But yeah, I was gonna say, the 43 chapters, and then also I know you guys have a summer promo going on right now, since you're kind of just getting into the meat of the season. But for people that haven't heard of APT or don't necessarily, we talked about the national side, but talk a little bit about the local chapters, how that works, and the tours, and also if you want to highlight the summer promo.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the summer membership deal, it's $75 to get in. Our presenting sponsors, Worldwide Golf, which obviously covers Edwin Watts, Vans Golf, Roger Dunn, Uinta. There's so many brands that encompass Worldwide Golf and their retail outlets. But globalgolf.com specifically, which is a large e-commerce retailer, they're giving you a $50 credit when you join that you can spend on golf stuff. So you can get golf balls, shoes, apparel, whatever you need, clubs. And so it's a really good deal because for $75, you're getting $50 to spend on stuff you're going to spend on anyway. And we've set up the tour with different local chapters, like you said. So 43 chapters across the country. Like I run our local chapter in St. Louis. And we have 20 events in St. Louis that are all local. And so we've kind of split the tour into different sectors, if you will. So there's the local sector that, we play the top public golf courses in the area and mix in a bunch of great privates in St. Louis. So you get some access to some country clubs that you probably wouldn't get on otherwise. But then we also play a lot of the top public facilities in the area for 20 event schedule. We've got a local player of the year for people and a lot of people just play local events. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I don't want to just highlight just the big resorts, because not everybody's in a stage of life that they can do that. And but we're creating basically a tour within the tour in each of these local chapters. And so they each have their own local player of the year race, their own local schedule. Now with membership, you took advantage of it because you traveled everywhere. You can travel to any local event in the country and play, and then you also earn points for those events. And then within that, us at the national level, we run a series of national majors. I think it's like 14 or 15 events in 24. And we'll host those at some of the top golf resorts around the country. And just, it's a great opportunity to get together with people from other areas of the country and test your skills. And then everything culminates at our two championships, our North American Championship and our Senior North American Championship in September in Myrtle Beach. And so beyond having a local player of the year at the local level, we also have a national player of the year that's weighted for how you do at the national events. And so we've really got two groups of people that are in it for different reasons. We have a lot of people that just love the local competition, and then they'll come to the national at the end, or some people that just stay local, and we love that too. And so it's really creating community in each local market, right? That is its own tour within. It may not travel across the country like you or I have done, but it's still, you're building community, camaraderie, playing some great golf courses and getting access to places that you would normally get to play. And also competing for, obviously trophies and prize money each week, but also local player of the year as well.
Yeah. Well, and we kind of touched on it earlier, and just with some of my background and going from, I think I was like a 12 or 14 handicap when I first started playing, and I don't know if that would have put me in D4, I think, at that point, and then started like working my way up, and D3, D2, and so talk a little bit about too that like you don't have to be a scratch golfer to be on these tours and compete, and like your dad has been out there, and he's, I don't even know how old now, but like I've seen him out there winning a couple of recent events. So
yeah, absolutely. He's been playing well recently. So he's 67 now. So I just have to take my age and add 30. So it's like getting older. I'm like, crap. But so all of our tournaments are flighted into 5 divisions. And so Division 1 is 3.4 handicaps and below. And so you get some of the scratch guys in there, and usually something around even par is going to win those tournaments. You go all the way up to Division 5, which is 18.5 and up, where the average winning score is probably 91, 92 in those tournaments, and then everywhere in between. And so if you can shoot 90 on a good day, there's a spot for you to compete, on the Amateur Players Tour. And that's what makes it fun. And I think one of the important things to talk about, and, I don't know where it is on your schedule, so I apologize, but, this is where the handicapping gets really important. And so, we keep, one of the things that's unique about, the Amateur Players Tour is we keep a tournament handicap index for you. And so as you establish your handicap over time with us, eventually that turns into your tournament handicap index is the only thing that we look at. And so we're basing your ability based on your tournament scores, which keeps competition fair and keeps people in the right spot. And so it's not like a lot of places you sign up and you're like, hey, what's your GIN? And you put in, and if you're really a 2, there's a lot of people that write in 7.9. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they go play the tournament without a lot of accountability. Like we've went to great lengths to avoid those type of issues.
Yeah. Well, and I also have respected what you have put into a lot of the player's handbook and stuff with rules. And I think it was Troon, actually, one of the majors. And some dude went out, and I forget his name, but I just remember he came in like cloud 9, and he was like, I could not hit a bad shot. And like he ended up shooting out of his gourd, shot under par, and like he talked about like 3 holes where he hit it out of bounds and like the roof knocked it back into play. And he was just like, I got so lucky that it was unreal. And, but he was like, but it was like a statistically impossible round for me to shoot.
It's certainly interesting because you see like Golf Digest always publishes the articles, and, I'm not sure where I fall on all the research because, we're collecting a lot of data. And so one of the things that we do, and not to get too technical, but we actually have a handicap committee that meets weekly to go over all the handicaps. And so they're responsible for overseeing the policy. And our handicap committee is made up of players on our tour, and it's also made up of some of our chapter owners. And so it's not something that we're just sitting, putting Bible down. Like our players like have input into the policies that we have. And so, we continue to tweak things as we study the data. And thankfully, we've got a bunch of like engineering nerds that are on our handicap committee because that's not my thing. So they work really hard. I was sitting in on the call last night, but one of the things that we've noticed, and if you look at our championships as opposed to, some of our competitors and what the winning scores are, you can really see the results. I mean, it's not the sexy part of running an AM tour. I'd much rather talk about going to Streamsong and Big Cedar Lodge and Chambers Bay and, Bandon Dunes and all the great places we've been. But as far as, what people are looking for is they want an ability to compete on a fair and equitable platform. And that's what we're working really, really hard to provide. And it's difficult because it requires having difficult conversations with people. I can't tell you how many times a week, well, why are you starting me at the 12-month low of my gin? Well, because I pick up all my 3-foot putts. And I was like, well, you should probably stop doing that when you establish your handicap, because until you establish a tournament index with us, you're playing at your gin. And that really has stopped people from coming in and, winning 4 times, taking all the money and promoting. And that's what we try to avoid, right? We want people to have to actually play well to win on our tour. So in the flighted environment.
For sure. So I guess one of the other things, the tour has some cool partnerships, which you've kind of talked about a little bit, that are included. One of the big ones with APT is a lot of the veteran support, and especially Folds of Honor. It's a really cool partnership, and Big Cedar is a big fundraiser for that, like you mentioned. But do you want to talk about Folds of Honor and that relationship and some of the veteran ties? And
yeah, absolutely. We are, it's the honor of a lifetime to be able to call Folds of Honor, a partner. You obviously you've seen Folds of Honor in the news quite a bit lately. They're doing a bunch of different stuff, providing just a ton of scholarships. And for those that don't know who Folds of Honor is or what they do, they essentially create scholarship programs to stand in the gap for the families of fallen or wounded military members or first responders. And so their founder, Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney, his vision and mission is like, the most important thing you can say to a veteran is, if something is to happen to you and you have to make a sacrifice for the country, we're going to be there to take care of your family. And that's exactly what Folds of Honor does through educational scholarships and so many other programs that they're involved in. And they've given out so many scholarships a year. I think it was something like 9,800 or something last year. But the number that stuck with me is they turned away like 4,500 qualified applicants. And so, while they're doing so much good, there's still such a huge need. And so we're excited to partner with them. Our tour is made up of so many veterans and, police officers and first responders, and that work so hard to raise money and raise awareness. And we're proud. We were able to write a check for $100,000 to Folds of Honor last year at our national championship, which was really cool. And, we've continuing to raise a lot of money this year. We'll see what the total comes to. We're going to work really hard at it. But it's just an honor to be able to do something more than just golf, and to watch our community come together and coalesce around such an important mission and a great cause and great people. It's been really fun and humbling to watch it all come together. It's not us doing anything special. It's our members are just incredibly generous, incredibly hardworking, and have done some incredible things working together. And I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Awesome. So I guess final 2 quick shot questions. Favorite course you've ever played?
My gosh, they make fun of me all the time on our lives because I say I have 30 courses in my top 10. One course is a little bit easier. I'm going to go with Bandon Trails at Bandon Dunes. So which is the one that's not on the water.
Okay. And then number 1 course on your bucket list to play that you've never played?
Gosh, I've checked off a lot of them, so this is going to be hard. I'm going to say Oakmont Country Club.
So have you played Augusta or Pine Valley?
I've not played Augusta. I just give up that it's not going to happen. So I didn't include. I did go to the Masters this year for first time and walked it. Just an absolutely incredible property. So Pine Valley would be nice too. I mean, that would be a good consolation prize, right?
Yeah. Those are probably the 2 that I hear the most. So yeah, but Oakmont would be an excellent one as well. Well, cool. I appreciate you coming on today. I guess before we wrap up, anything I missed or anything you wanted to highlight that we didn't get to?
No, I think it's just, I would just say this: if you're wanting to get better at golf, definitely join a community of golfers. Tournament golf can be intimidating at first, but it's a great way to find out more about yourself. It's a great way to meet new people. It's a great way to build relationships and friendships that will span the country and last a lifetime. I know that's how we met, and I can't express the benefits of getting involved in something like this. It's a lot of fun, and so we'd love to have you out on the Amateur Players Tour.
Yeah. No, and I'm excited for when you guys bring the national championship out to Montana. So
that would be awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate you coming on. And I'll drop some links to the Amateur Players Tour in the descriptions and things like that. But if you have any questions, feel free to message me, or you can also find the APT on various socials, and their groups are all great if you ever have any questions on Facebook and stuff. Or Matt's super responsive. I know when I messaged him about coming on here, I think he responded in about 30 seconds. So you guys should check out the APT, 43 chapters around the country, all these national events that are probably in your backyard somewhere, regardless of where you live. Thanks a lot, Matt, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Scott. We'll see you.
That concludes today's episode of A Good Walk Spoiled, Adventures in Golf, hosted by Scott Ponywaz. That's myself. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, rate it high, and follow us on Instagram at pony_golf to stay in the loop. We'll catch you next time.